From translation, TLB the Living Bible this 137th day of the year. Today we are reading passages 2 Chronicles 25-27, 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verses 1 to 28. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother's name was Jehoadan, she was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not with a whole heart. As soon as the kingdom was established in his hand, he struck down his servants who had struck down the king his father, but the children of the murderers he did not put to death, according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, where the Lord commanded, "Fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their fathers, but each shall be put to death for his own sin." Then Amaziah assembled the men of Judah, and set them by fathers' houses under commanders of thousands and hundreds throughout Judah and Benjamin. He mustered those 20 years old and upward, and found that there were 300,000 choice men fit for war, able to handle spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor from Israel for 100 talents of silver. But a man of God came to him and said, "O king, do not let the army of Israel go with you, for the Lord is not with Israel with all these Ephraimites. But if you will go, do it. Be strong in the battle, but God will make you stumble before the enemy, for God has power to help and to overthrow." And Amaziah said to the man of God, "But what shall we do about the 100 talents of silver that I have given to the army of Israel?" The man of God answered, "The Lord is able to give you much more than this." Then Amaziah dismissed the army that had come to him from Ephraim to go home again. And they became very angry with Judah and returned home in fierce anger. But Amaziah took courage and led his army forth and came to the valley of Salt and struck down 10,000 men of Seir. The men of Judah took 10,000 alive and brought them to the top of a rock and threw them down from the top of the rock, and they all were dashed to pieces. But the soldiers of the army whom Amaziah sent back, not letting them go with him to battle, raided the cities of Judah, from Samaria to Beth-horon, and killed 3,000 in them and took much spoil. After Amaziah came from striking down the Edomites, he brought the gods of the men of Seir and set them up as his own gods and worshipped them, making offerings to them. So the anger of the Lord burned against Amaziah, and he sent a prophet to him, who said to him, "Why have you sought the gods of a people who did not deliver their own people from your hand?" But as he was speaking, the king said to him, "Have we made you a royal counselor? Stop, why should you be struck down?" Then the prophet stopped, but said, "I know that God has determined to destroy you, because you have done this and have not listened to my counsel." Then King Amaziah took counsel and sent to Joash the son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, "Come, let us look one another in the face." And Joash the king of Israel sent to Amaziah king of Judah, saying, "A thorn bush of Lebanon sent to a cedar in Lebanon, saying, 'Give your daughter to my son for a wife.' But a wild beast of Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thorn bush. You say, 'Behold, you have defeated Edom, and your heart has lifted you up to boast.' Stay at home, why should you provoke trouble so that you fall, you and Judah with you?" But Amaziah would not listen, for it was of God, in order that he might give them into the hand of their enemies, because they had sought the gods of Edom. So King Joash of Israel went up, and he and Amaziah king of Judah looked each other in the face at Beth-shemesh, which belongs to Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his home. And King Joash of Israel captured Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz at Beth-shemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and silver, and all the vessels that were found in the house of the Lord and in the treasuries of the king's house, and he took hostages, and returned to Samaria. And Amaziah the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah from first to last, are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? From the time that Amaziah turned away from following the Lord, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent men after him to Lachish and killed him there. And they brought him on horses, and he was buried with his fathers in the city of Judah. 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 1 to 22. All the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. He built a loth and restored it to Judah, after the king slept with his fathers. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jechaliah, from Jerusalem, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. He sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him prosper. Now he went out and made war against the Philistines, and broke down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Jabneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities in the territory of Ashdod and among the Philistines. God helped him against the Philistines, and against the Arabs who lived in Gerbal, and against the Munites. The Ammonites paid tribute to Uzziah, and his fame spread even to the border of Egypt, for he became very strong. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the angle, and fortified them. And he built towers in the wilderness and dug many wells, for he had much livestock, both in the Shephelah and in the plains, for he had farmers and vine-dressers in the hills and in the fertile lands, for he loved the soil. Moreover, Uzziah had an army of fighting men, fit for war, 260,000 men, trained and skilled in war. Under his command was an army mighty for war, 307,500 men, of whom the Lord had made them strong to give great help to the king against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for all the army shields, spears, helmets, coats of mail, bows, and stones for slinging. And he devised in Jerusalem machines invented by skillful men, to be on the towers and at the corners, to shoot arrows and great stones. And his fame spread far, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he acted unfaithfully against the Lord his God, by entering the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense. But the priest Azariah followed him with all the priests of the Lord, that is, 80 valiant men. And they withstood King Uzziah and said to him, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to the Lord, but for the priests, the sons of Aaron, who are consecrated to burn incense. Get out of the sanctuary, for you have done wrong, and it will not be for your honor from the God of Israel." Then Uzziah was angry, and he held a censer in his hand to burn incense, while he was angry with the priests in the presence of the incense altar in the house of the Lord, beside the altar of incense. And Azariah the priest and all the priests looked at him, and behold, he was leprous on his forehead, and they drove him out from there. He himself hurried to be out, because the Lord had struck him. And King Uzziah was a leper to the day of his death, and being a leper he lived in a separate house, for he was excluded from the house of the Lord. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, governing the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, from first to last, Isaiah the prophet the son of Amoz wrote. And Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of burial that belonged to the kings, for they said, "He is a leper." And Jotham his king over the house of Judah. 2 Chronicles chapter 27, verses 1-9. Jotham was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that his father Uzziah had done, except that he did not enter the temple of the Lord, but the people still acted corruptly. He built the upper gate of the house of the Lord, and did much building on the wall of Ophel. Moreover, he built cities in the hill country of Judah, and forts and towers in the forests. He fought with the king of the Ammonites and prevailed over them, and the Ammonites gave him that year 100 talents of silver, and 10,000 cors of wheat, and 10,000 cors of barley. The Ammonites paid him the same amount in the second and third years. So Jotham became mighty, because he directed his ways before the Lord his God. Now the rest of the acts of Jotham, his wars and his ways, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And Jotham slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and Ahaz his son reigned in his place.